powers every yantra or every machine and system to work faster, better, and smarter. We are only at the dawn of this era. The best of AI is yet to come.
It's wonderful to be back in India. Every time I visit, I'm struck by the pace of change, and today is no different. Back when I was a student, I often took the Coromandel Express train from Chennai up to IIT Kharagpur. To get there, we passed through Visakhapatnam, Vizag. I remember it being a quiet and modest coastal city brimming with potential. Now in that same city, Google is establishing a full-stack AI hub, part of our $15 billion infrastructure investment in India.
All right, let's quickly go across to Siddhant, who will, in fact, share more details to all of those host of talking points that have now emerged from this big day today. Siddhant, to begin with Prime Minister's speech, which was extremely heartwarming, when he says, "Bharat ko AI mein bhagya dikhta hai, Bharat ko AI mein bhavishya dikhta hai." He's also spoken about how India is looking towards a responsible form of AI governance, as you rightly earlier highlighted, that it's not just going to be India positioned as a consumer, but one as also offering a market.
Well, that's right. And Akanksha, this vision of Prime Minister Modi is not only for India, but for whole of Global South. And this is the reason that the first time, Akanksha, that on this global high table of artificial intelligence, Global South is participating as equals, not as a market or as a consumer. Perhaps that was the whole idea of Prime Minister Modi to organize this event in India. At the same time, last year also, Akanksha, as we were discussing before, when Prime Minister went to Paris to co-host AI Action Summit with President Macron, at that time, there were a lot of concerns with the European leaders and countries in Europe and other parts of the world that AI will take away jobs. And perhaps it was Prime Minister Modi at that gathering who in his keynote address made India's position very clear and also convinced the other world leaders that don't hesitate to embrace this technology. It is important to accept it, to skill, reskill, perhaps to shape the future of this technology. And look, right after 1 year, India is hosting a summit. And today, Prime Minister Modi, in his keynote address, he spoke about AI governance, he spoke about participation, R&D in Global South. He in fact also spoke about AI vision, but at the same time responsibility, which also needs to be decided, is a part of this AI world. So Prime Minister's vision is very clear, and in fact this is the reason that today it's such a significant moment for India and also for the entire AI ecosystem, Akanksha.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. Let's get you started with the headlines. Disgraced UK royal Andrew arrested over charges of misconduct in public office, accused of passing on information to Jeffrey Epstein while serving as a UK trade envoy. At India AI Impact Summit, Prime Minister Modi presents India's Manav Vision, lays out a framework that would guide development of AI not just for India but for the world. French President Emmanuel Macron hails India's AI moment, says India did what nobody else could and proved the critics wrong. OpenAI founder Sam Altman speaks exclusively to CNN News 18 at the sidelines of the Bharat AI Summit, hails India's incredible progress in artificial intelligence, says no country matches India's energy. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei says while it is true that AI is going to disrupt most industries, there is a need to draw red lines, cautions that tech revolution is happening too fast. Reliance Industries Chairman Mukesh Ambani hails Prime Minister Modi's AI vision, announces investment of 10 lakh crore rupees over the next 7 years for development of artificial intelligence. CNN News 18 Newsbreak confirmed DMDK set to join the DMK alliance ahead of the 2026 Tamil Nadu elections. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan slams Kerala Story 2 as poisonous propaganda, accuses Sangh Parivar of spreading lies. Ahead of elections, Kerala government extends bar hours. Opposition and church criticize the move, claim it risks public safety and encourages alcohol abuse. After being shamed globally for gross mismanagement during Pakistan's team's tour of Australia, country's hockey federation chief resigns, accuses country's sports board of not providing funds for this overseas tour. Our top focus on his 66th birthday, former UK Prince Andrew Windsor was arrested from the royal residence in Sandringham. The British police arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over his links with Jeffrey Epstein, which were back under the spotlight after the US Department of Justice released millions of documents relating to the probe into the convicted sex offender. These include several photographs of Andrew, his email correspondence with Epstein. Remember, earlier he was investigated over charges pertaining to this case. This time around, the arrest has come to the fore because of misuse of office, or when he was acting as UK's trade envoy between 2010 and 2011. He is believed to have passed on crucial information about his visits overseas, especially to Singapore and Hong Kong, to Jeffrey Epstein, talking about the kind of investments that the UK was looking to do there.
Have been. First of all, he was saying that, well, this woman, the late Virginia Giuffre, well, he didn't know her. The photographs might have been fake, or maybe he did know her and it's just a social event, and that photograph may or may not be fake, but if it's real, it just shows people meeting each other. And then he said that after Epstein's earlier conviction, well, he completely blanked him and he traveled. They went to Central Park together and he ended the friendship. That was it. He was utterly disgusted and disapproving. And then, of course, we find out that none of those things are the case at all. The photograph that we see was real. He didn't end the friendship. In fact, they were in contact really very close after that initial police action against Epstein. They stayed in close touch. Not just that, but they messaged back and forth continually. They were meeting. They both wanted access from each other. Andrew wanted Epstein's glamour and connections and, of course, his access to all the things he was interested in. Epstein also wanted a way into the royal family, angling for trips to Balmoral, to Buckingham Palace. And that is what is so incredibly incriminating, that this has not been a blanket denial from the beginning by Andrew. It's been a series of fudges. And then he gave that notorious interview to the BBC in which he said, I've been described as being very sweaty. Well, actually, I have a strange condition in which I don't sweat. All of these very bizarre claims that were damaging to him. The royal family has been really quite silent all the way through this, but even they have begun in the last 2 weeks releasing very strong statements. The moment the royal family are releasing a statement saying, if there's an investigation, we're going to contribute, that's it.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Buckingham Palace statement about supporting the police. I just wonder whether that is enough at this point. I mean, what will the King and the rest of the royal family do next, do you believe?
I think, and this is pure conjecture on my part, of course, that there are meetings happening as we're speaking, and that they are saying, right, Andrew is completely out. Publicly and personally and professionally, we are going to put absolute distance. And if there are any panicked emails or messages coming from Andrew into the family circle, they will be intercepted by the royal family's own advisors. They will go into damage protection mode. The royal family is a centuries-long medieval institution that is far bigger than any individual. And I can promise you, the royal family will survive. Andrew may not.
Just the last question for you before I let you go at this point, and we take a very short break. His ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, also implicated in the Epstein files. His children, Beatrice and Eugenie, mentioned by their mother, allegedly in an email to Jeffrey Epstein. I just wonder what their fate or the impact on his family will be, his immediate family will be in all of this.
As a woman, that revelation that Sarah Ferguson was sort of inviting her own daughters along to meet and hang out with Epstein is the most shocking element of it to me. I can't imagine the sense of pain, humiliation, embarrassment, besmirchment that the two princesses may well have, because of course your parents have been implicated in this incredibly public and damaging and nasty affair. But they're also your parents. And this is the terrible schism for the royal family as a whole. They are a firm, they're a corporation, they're a business, they are Britain's soft power, and yet they're also a family. There's nothing good that can come from this at all. I can only imagine what they're feeling.
For the time being, we're going to let you go. Your insight and analysis is extremely important. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we will continue to monitor.
This is the first time a first arrest that has been linked to the royal family. My colleague Sanjay Suri joins us live from London, getting us more details and perspective on this. Now, Sanjay, there have been allegations that the former prince had denied of having sexual relations with one of Jeffrey Epstein's survivor, who was just 16 back then when she had met Andrew. But what has been his stance on these allegations of passing on critical information to Jeffrey Epstein, charges on which he's been arrested today?
Well, on that he has said very little at all, and that really is the issue here. We are, of course, understandably inclined to take a sweeping view of his many misdemeanors, but the pointed issue here is the Official Secrets Act. The allegation is, and this is the point that the police have picked on, which has led to this arrest, is that as trade envoy, and we do recall that he was special representative for trade, and this was an official role that was given to him by the British government between 2001 and 2011, so over a period of 10 years. Through the course of those 10 years, he visited Singapore, Hong Kong, and crucially, he had sought information about business opportunities in Afghanistan and particularly Helmand province. The interest was in accessing natural resources and in securing contracts for reconstruction. He sought that information and obtained it as a leader of the UK government for the purpose of the UK government. Instead, he passed all that information on to Jeffrey Epstein. That is being alleged as a violation of the Official Secrets Act, and that is really the legal point on which all this is focused, quite apart from the other, and there are many other scandals that do surround him.
Any reaction, any statement coming in from the Buckingham Palace, from the royal family on this front, on this arrest, Sanjay?
Well, we've had a consistent position from the palace that they will support the police. The palace has said repeatedly that their thoughts are with victims. That was spoken in the context of the sexual allegations. But here again, the palace has made it clear that they will support the police. And of course, it is the palace that would have facilitated his arrest this morning from the royal estate at Sandringham. But it is, of course, useful to remind ourselves that the expression that the police have used is misconduct in public life. That can be an all-encompassing matter. The Epstein files are revealing more and more all the time. So while this is at the moment focused on the violations of the agreement as trade envoy, the other allegations could come into this very likely at some point.
Now, Sanjay, for the benefit of our viewers here in India who are just about catching up on what's happening, do take our viewers through what exactly has transpired over the last few months, over the last year or so, after these allegations came to the fore, after these emails and photos came to the fore involving the former royal. It was almost immediately that his brother, King Charles, had cut all ties with him, that the royal family had cut all ties with him and relieved him of royal duties.
Well, and that was in the time of the Queen, and this is her son we are talking about, not just her son, but by all accounts her favorite son. And it was then that he was stripped of his royal position, of his royal duties. He was allowed to use the title Prince, but eventually that also was dropped so that he became just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Further calls why he should be Mountbatten Windsor at all, and that surname is royal sounding. Get rid of that. So he is really Mr. Andrew now that we are talking about. The palace has dissociated itself from him step by step. And that has arisen from the Epstein files, but not only as a result of the Epstein files. Without doubt, there would have been MI5 reports and British intelligence reports that would have informed the palace of what Andrew was up to. And all that led to the decision to throw him out of royalty. That done, the question then, as more revelations come through the Epstein files, what the police could do. The police have now picked on a violation of the Official Secrets Act, and that is something that they are going to have to now press charges on, unless they decide that there are no charges to pursue, which is not likely. If they were uncertain, they certainly wouldn't have gone this far. So this is a case that's now going to get to trial, and it's going to be a trial that's going to be watched very closely around the world.
Absolutely. Sanjay, do stay on with us. Details are slowly trickling in of how the arrest actually happened, what the reaction has been of the royal family, the rest of the United Kingdom, and how, like Sanjay pointed out, the world is watching to this. Let's cut across for more perspective to CNN.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Well, we are following major breaking news out of the United Kingdom. Today, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, has been arrested and was taken into custody earlier today. He's accused of allegedly sharing confidential information with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein while he served as a trade envoy for the United Kingdom. Mountbatten-Windsor has previously denied any wrongdoing over his ties to the disgraced financier. King Charles had stripped his brother of his titles back in October and has since evicted him from his home on the Windsor estate. Let's get right to CNN's Salma Abdelaziz, working the phones in London, tracking what is this fast-moving story. Salma, what do we know very specifically at this point about the arrest?
Well, what we know, of course, is that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is now in police custody. Where? We don't know exactly, but it is very likely that at this point in time, he would be held in a police station, maybe even in a police cell. Police experts say there will be no special treatment for the former prince. He would be in a small cell, just like anyone else, with a toilet and a hard bed, potentially waiting to be asked questions by the police, waiting to be interviewed by the police. Now, how long can the police hold him? Well, generally in these cases, it's about 24 to 48 hours when we see that that interview takes place. And then you would imagine that in some ways, they would probably release him at that stage and the case would go quiet while the investigation continues. Now, you might ask, well, why was it necessary for the police to arrest Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor? Why didn't they simply call him in for questioning, call him in for an interview? Well, police experts say, Becky, that it is because it gives police the access to do what we're seeing right now on our screens, search his properties. As you said, he was evicted from his home in Windsor, pushed out of the royal residence, and now staying in Sandringham, a residence of King Charles. That estate is now being searched by police. We understand that there are properties that are being looked into by police, that local police are also assisting Thames Valley Police in their search. The next question will be, well, how big will these searches go? Will other members of the royal family be asked questions or be called upon in this investigation? Well, we've already heard from King Charles a few days ago, who preempted this by issuing a statement saying he is ready to support police. But there's a lot of questions. What specifically prompted the police to take this extraordinary action? We understand that he is arrested on allegations of misconduct in public office that relates to his time as a trade envoy for the UK between 2001 and 2011. He was a trade envoy for this country, and in the latest trove of Epstein files, it appears that he forwarded sensitive information, confidential government information, to Jeffrey Epstein while he was representing this country as a trade envoy. Extraordinary if true, of course. Mountbatten-Windsor has repeatedly denied any allegations of wrongdoing, but that's the other extraordinary twist here, Becky, is while all of the headlines have been mostly focused on allegations of sexual misconduct, it is his time as trade representative that is under question. Now, in this email trove, there are emails that appear again to show Mountbatten-Windsor, at the time Prince Andrew, forwarding emails that had details of upcoming trips abroad, of investment opportunities in places like in Afghanistan, in gold, in uranium. So this type of very sensitive details being sent to Jeffrey Epstein is right now the heart of the investigation. But what was the trigger? That's the answer we still don't have, Becky.
And as you've been speaking, and I'm going to bring up again the images that we've got into CNN this morning, because these are videos from outside Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's home. This is Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk in England. This is a temporary residence, as we understand it, while a permanent home also located on that property is gotten ready for him. He was moved there in mid-February, so not very long ago at all, when he was effectively evicted from his home on the Windsor estate. We do understand from the police statement that a property in Berkshire in the UK is also being investigated. That one assumes would be his home on that Windsor estate, which is in Berkshire, just about sort of 40 or 50 miles away from London, of course. Do we have any details about how this arrest actually unfolded? I mean, we began to get information on this a couple of hours ago, and you were very quickly reporting on this. Do we understand how it unfolded? Who knew what before the actual arrest happened?
Look, right now the police are, of course, prioritizing the investigation. And so there's a lot that they're not going to be able to say because the matter is simply under investigation. But what we do know from the images that you're showing us, from people who are on the ground and eyewitnesses, is that cars, police cars, some of them potentially unmarked police cars, showed up at that estate today, this morning, which is also, I have to point out, Prince Andrew's 66th birthday. So on the morning of his birthday, police cars showing up at the estate. We heard shortly afterwards that he was arrested by the police. We do not have any details on where he was taken next, but given the timeline, I would imagine that he is already at a police station. Now, I don't know that for certain. Now, what happens next is the interview, is the questioning. So that's going to take place simultaneously while they search these properties. To what extent are they going to search properties? We simply don't know. We have colleagues right now outside of Buckingham Palace where everything looks calm and everything looks normal. But there will also be questions right now, of course, with King Charles, with other members of the royal family as to what happens next, how they prepare themselves for what happens next. We have heard statements, of course, that have been absolutely extraordinary in their scope. King Charles saying he's willing to support the police in an investigation on his own brother. The statement that we saw it is for the royal family, for any member of the royal family, to issue statements like this. At a time like this, as you know, Becky, the entire country is going to be listening, reading, watching, engaged in what's happening. And what the royal family needs to do right now is going to be to restore public trust, to demonstrate that they are ahead of this as much as they can, willing to work with the police, willing to tackle any wrongdoing, if there is any wrongdoing, as the police find. But you're also going to have to remember that at the heart of the monarchy is a family. So we are talking about a brother, we are talking about an uncle, we are talking about a father. And so that family is going to be splattered all over the headlines too. So yes, there's going to be this sense that this might be a step forward for Jeffrey Epstein's victims. There might be a step forward potentially in Andrew Mountbatten Windsor possibly testifying in Congress. But there's also going to be empathy for the family that's at the heart of this, some of whom may have been caught up in this absolutely, like his daughter.
Across and shifting focus to French President Emmanuel Macron, who is here in India. He's giving out details over India and France's Rafale deal. Let's cut across.
Et c'est pour ça que tous les partis politiques qui, à un moment ou à un autre, justifient en leur sein ou à leur périphérie des mouvements qui pratiquent la violence sous prétexte que la République ne ferait pas assez ceci ou cela, commettent à chaque fois une faute grave. Grave. Et donc là, en l'espèce, c'est un mouvement d'action violente et mobilisé à sa tâche pour que les conditions du respect de chacun, de la sécurité soient assurées. Mais chacun a sa part de responsabilité.
Est-ce que vous avez aucune alliance avec LFI?
Ensuite, il y a de l'autre côté, à l'extrême droite, également des mouvements violents. Ces mouvements doivent être combattus, continuer d'être éradiqués, et rien ne saurait les justifier. Mais n'entrons pas dans un face-à-face. Et quant aux autres commentaires politiques que je vois, je suis toujours frappé de voir que les gens qui sont nationalistes, qui ne veulent pas qu'on les embête chez eux, sont toujours les premiers à commenter ce qui se passe chez les autres. Que chacun reste chez soi et les moutons seront bien gardés.
Ça, c'est pour Georges Meloni. Monsieur le Président, le prince Andrew a été arrêté à son domicile ce matin dans le cadre de l'affaire Epstein. Quel est votre commentaire?
Je ne vais pas faire plus de commentaires, évidemment, j'imagine combien ça peut choquer le peuple britannique. Après, la justice passe, il y a une volonté qui est de laisser la justice travailler, de transparence, et donc je n'ai pas de commentaires à faire qui puissent...
On nous dit que cette brutalisation va casser le 2027 pour éviter ce face-à-face.
Mais en prenant tous ces responsabilités, je le dis, là, c'est un moment de responsabilité pour toutes les formations politiques. Quiconque veut défendre ses idées, aller aux urnes, convaincre, n'a pas le droit d'utiliser la violence. Quiconque veut défendre ses idées, quels que soient ses idéaux, et je peux être en accord, en désaccord, vous pouvez être en accord, en désaccord, ils sont à respecter. Rien ne justifie la violence. Et donc, quelques responsables politiques, quelques partis politiques qui est ambigu avec des mouvements violents, qui est ambigu avec des groupes qui pratiquent la violence, portent une responsabilité gravissime. Et donc, je les appelle tous à la responsabilité, à lever ces ambiguïtés, à interdire eux-mêmes tous les groupes qui, en leur sein, pratiquent cette violence, à les fermer. La justice, de toute façon, fera son travail. L'administration le fera pour les dissolutions. Et je les appelle tous à ramener les esprits à la fois à la décence et au calme. La décence, parce qu'un jeune homme vient de mourir. Et la décence, c'est d'abord d'être aux côtés de sa famille, de ses proches, et de dire qu'il n'y a rien qui justifie de tuer un jeune homme. Et les opinions ne justifient pas de tuer un jeune homme. On peut, encore une fois, les partager, ne pas les partager. Et ensuite, je ne crois pas à l'émeute permanente. La République, ça n'est pas ça. Et donc, tous, je les appelle au calme. Si nous voulons une vie démocratique apaisée, nous avons des élections municipales qui arrivent. Je vois de plus en plus à la fois de maires sortants, de candidats qui sont aujourd'hui agressés. Je veux ici leur redire tout mon soutien. Tous les élus de la République, les maires, moi-même, le gouvernement, nous sommes là pour que les choses se passent dans le calme et dans le respect. Toutes les formations politiques doivent y contribuer. Le gouvernement est mobilisé, est à sa tâche pour que les conditions du respect de chacun, de la sécurité soient assurées. Mais chacun a sa part de responsabilité.
Est-ce que vous appelez à ne signer aucune alliance avec LFI? Raymond?
We'll try and get you details of what exactly it is that the French President Emmanuel Macron just came out and detailed. But this is the first statement that the French President has made after holding bilateral talks with the Indian side, with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and delegation level talks were held between both sides. Both the countries, of course, are looking to strengthen ties in multiple areas, one of which is defense. There was a Rafale deal that was on agenda to be signed. Remember, India's highest defense acquisition body, the Defense Acquisition Council, just last week, and the cabinet post that had given its nod to purchase more Rafale jets from a French aviation company, Dassault. That's something that was expected to come up in talks between the two leaders, between French President and the Indian Prime Minister. That's something that Emmanuel Macron there has come out and confirmed is what we're learning. We're still trying to ascertain more details as to what it is exactly, what the nitty-gritties of that deal are, what was the discussion on that particular front. The French president there giving out more details as far as defense cooperation between India and France is concerned. Macron going on to say that India wants to co-produce Rafale jets with French aviation company Dassault. That's something that is under consideration is what we're learning. Akanksha now joins us, getting us more details and perspective on this. Yes, Akanksha, take our viewers through what it is exactly that Macron said.
But this is an extremely pivotal visit. Why? Because India has elevated its strategic partnership with France, and we've elevated it to a global strategic partnership that makes us a bilateral partner to France at par with the United States. Why is it so special, Poonam? You've already highlighted how the Dassault deal is now going to be moving forward from fighter jets. You're looking at other aspects also, even in terms of trade. Remember, Prime Minister Modi and the French president go back a long way. Their bonhomie is in fact world famous. Why? Because they stand by their friends through thick and thin. They're also known for actually sticking their neck out, especially under the current administration of Donald Trump, whatever kind of bullying we've seen, especially when it comes to trade. But more importantly, it is his presence, not just in the financial capital of India, which was Mumbai, and now in the national capital as far as fronting the AI summit along with Prime Minister Modi by his side is concerned. We can also tell you that there's been an approval which has already been cleared for Indian Navy to acquire 26 carrier-based Rafale marine fighter jets. There are plans also being moved forward for the procurement of 140 new multi-role combat aircraft for the Indian Air Force. The partnership places a strong emphasis on co-design, even say sharing of critical emerging technologies. So you're looking at a gamut of sectors, and even when it comes to say security fight together between New Delhi and Paris and cracking down on terrorism, I will again refer back to the India-France joint declaration, which was very pivotal because openly France has condemned the 2 terror attacks that happened in Delhi last year and in Pahalgam. India and France will also be looking towards eliminating terrorism through curbing down terror financing. Remember, France is playing a very critical role when it comes to the Financial Action Task Force. The headquarters are in Paris, and so with France joining hands with India, you could in fact also expect Pakistan now to be in the line of fire when it comes to curbing down on terror infrastructure and even the kind of money laundering on which these terror safe havens like the ones being promoted out of Pakistan are thriving on. But most importantly, it is the way the bilateral relationship has been elevated this time around with the French president in the national capital, Poonam.
So the two sides there taking partnership to a new level. Defense, of course, is a key arena in which we're looking at strengthening these ties. But Akanksha, co-production of Rafale jets, that's something that is going to be keenly watched at. Many countries haven't been open to sharing tech as far as development of these assets are concerned. That's something that could open doors really for India, isn't it?
I'm glad, Poonam, you touched upon this aspect, because when you talk about global superpowers like the United States, for years, for nearly 2 decades, New Delhi kept pushing the United States to share their critical emerging technologies, especially in sectors like defense. And it was only after President Biden came into administration that India was able to get that breakthrough, that too in the tail end of his administration. Much of it was being used as a bargaining chip and as a leverage by the US President Donald Trump as well. So there was a lot of skepticism if Donald Trump is actually going to put a hold on to the sharing of critical emerging technologies. But none of that bargaining chip has been seen. The way the US has been using critical emerging technologies, especially in the defense sector, is not the same with France. France has been very open to using their technology, but even though we've seen how previous administrations under the UPA government all the way to NDA have in fact struggled to get these deals forward. But India is very hopeful that now this bilateral relationship between India and France has been elevated to a global strategic partnership. You can expect, say, a headway in terms of the deal being finalized, as President Macron in those visuals himself has taken to the International Media Center. Let me tell you, this is the IMC in the AI summit at Bharat Mandapam in the national capital. This is where he's taken the time out to come and specifically address all of media. That includes the international and Indian media. No foreign
Right, sorry to interrupt you there, Akanksha, but we're just getting visuals coming in of that meeting between French President Emmanuel Macron and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. These are visuals of that meeting that were held earlier on the sidelines of the AI Impact Summit, which was attended by Emmanuel Macron, who hailed India's AI growth story. The two leaders there and the bonhomie on display, like Akanksha was also pointing out, the two leaders do go way back. They share a certain kind of rapport that we've seen Prime Minister Modi share with many other world leaders. In this particular context, the kind of discussions that are taking place between the two countries and the two world leaders is extremely crucial, because that is how India is trying to gain an upper hand as far as ensuring that India's national security needs are kept paramount. At the same time, bilateral ties are strengthened with countries like France, especially in the scope of defense. Akanksha continues to be with us. Akanksha, we're still awaiting to hear more from what exactly transpired during that meeting. But like you were pointing out, that bonhomie between the two world leaders, that rapport there on display.
Absolutely, it is, and one that is also now being elevated to a global strategic partnership. As I said, it's only with very few countries that India shares that kind of bilateral relationship, one of them being the United States. There's a lot of changes that have happened ever since Donald Trump took to the White House last year in January. In this 1 year, much of the geopolitical climate and the overall global polity has changed. Many of them have chosen to stand by the US president's side. He's been extremely whimsical. Many of them have pandered to his whims and fancies. But as I said, the French President Emmanuel Macron and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi are two leaders who have stood their ground. They have dug their heels in, so much so that the US now has been brought to the negotiating table, where they've also considered a middle path when it comes to a trade deal. But what makes this partnership with France so special is because it's coming hot on the heels of that historic FTA that we forged with EU, and there are leading powers in Europe, namely Germany, France, and when you look at Britain. So these are three countries, even though UK is out of Europe officially, the fact is that these are three superpowers of Europe that stand very steady. And whatever engagements we've had with France so far, I can tell you the sense that we are getting, Poonam, is that India is looking towards also getting in a lot of French investment when it comes to developing our AI market as well. Don't forget, the French president is here at the time of the AI summit, but it is going to be, the primary focus is going to be on that defense deal.
Absolutely, Akanksha. For the moment, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We'll, of course, keep an eye out on what transpires on the sidelines of that AI Impact Summit and the relationship between India and France, which is only getting strengthened because of this visit of the French president. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on CNN News 18. But for now, time for a quick break.
As Tamil Nadu, one of India's most influential states in politics and culture, heads towards the assembly elections, politicians, policymakers, and top voices from business, culture, entertainment will come together for high-impact conversations around governance, development, culture, and issues shaping everyday life, where leaders meet creators, policy meets popular voice, and perspectives collide. For News 18 Network, Town Hall to answer the questions that truly matter. News 18 Network, Town Hall, Chennai, 23rd February 2026 at 10 a.m. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The AI Impact Summit in New Delhi, Prime Minister Modi has outlined India's Manav vision for artificial intelligence while addressing global leaders. Also, French President Emmanuel Macron, who remember is on his 4th visit to India, among top tech CEOs as well, including Google's Sundar Pichai, attended the summit. The French President began his address with a namaste and even praise for India for having built what no other country could so far. He said that India has given digital identity to 1.4 billion people. On the other hand, Sundar Pichai has said that India can be a leader in addressing security risks at the global level as well. Reliance Industries chairperson Mr. Mukesh Ambani has also addressed the summit today, and he said that India will emerge as one of the greatest AI superpowers in the 21st century. He further said that artificial intelligence can usher in an era of superabundance and offers limitless gains in knowledge, efficiency and productivity.
एआई के लिए इंसान सिर्फ डेटा पॉइंट न बन जाए, इंसान सिर्फ रॉ मटेरियल तक सीमित न रह जाए, इसलिए एआई को डेमोक्रेटाइज करना होगा। हमें विजन भी बड़ा रखना है और जिम्मेदारी भी उतनी ही बड़ी निभानी है। वर्तमान पीढ़ी के साथ ही हमें इस बात की भी चिंता करनी है कि आने वाली पीढ़ियों के हाथों में हम एआई का क्या स्वरूप सौंप कर जाएंगे। मैं जिम्मेवारी के साथ कहता हूं, गर्व के साथ कहता हूं, हमें भय नहीं, भारत को एआई में भाग्य दिखता है, भारत को एआई में भविष्य दिखता है।
And it's great to be back after my 2024 state visit for this Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit hosted by you, Mr. Prime Minister. And I want to start with a story. 10 years ago, a street vendor in Mumbai could not open a bank account. No address, no papers, no access. And today, the same vendor accepts payments on his phone, instantly. And India built something that no other country in the world has built, a digital identity for 1.4 billion people.
Artificial intelligence is not just another technology. For the first time, humans are creating human-like systems that can learn, speak, analyze, move, and produce autonomously. AI is the mantra that powers every yantra or every machine and system to work faster, better, and smarter. We are only at the dawn of this era. The best of AI is yet to come.
It's wonderful to be back in India. Every time I visit, I'm struck by the pace of change, and today is no different. Back when I was a student, I often took the Coromandel Express train from Chennai up to IIT Kharagpur. To get there, we passed through Visakhapatnam, Vizag. I remember it being a quiet and modest coastal city brimming with potential. Now in that same city, Google is establishing a full-stack AI hub, part of our $15 billion infrastructure investment in India.
All right, let's quickly go across to Siddhant, who will in fact share more details to all of those host of talking points that have now emerged from this big day today. Siddhant, to begin with Prime Minister's speech, which was extremely heartwarming, when he says, Bharat ko AI mein bhagya dikhta hai, Bharat ko AI mein bhavishya dikhta hai. He's also spoken about how India is looking towards a responsible form of AI governance, as you rightly earlier highlighted, that it's not just going to be India positioned as a consumer, but one as also offering a market.
Well, that's right. And Akanksha, this vision of Prime Minister Modi is not only for India, but for whole of Global South. And this is the reason that the first time, Akanksha, that on this global high table of artificial intelligence, Global South is participating as equals, not as a market or as a consumer. Perhaps that was the whole idea of Prime Minister Modi to organize this event in India. At the same time, last year also, Akanksha, as we were discussing before, when Prime Minister went to Paris to co-host AI Action Summit with President Macron, at that time, there were a lot of concerns with the European leaders and countries in Europe and other parts of the world that AI will take away jobs. And perhaps it was Prime Minister Modi at that gathering who in his keynote address made India's position very clear and also convinced the other world leaders that don't hesitate to embrace this technology. It is important to accept it, to skill, reskill, perhaps to shape the future of this technology. And look, right after 1 year, India is hosting a summit, and today Prime Minister Modi, in his keynote address, he spoke about AI governance, he spoke about participation, R&D in Global South. He in fact also spoke about AI vision, but at the same time responsibility, which also needs to be decided, is a part of this AI world. So Prime Minister's vision is very clear, and in fact this is the reason that today it's such a significant moment for India and also for the entire AI ecosystem, Akanksha. You know, all the big industry players from the West, India.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. Getting in breaking inputs coming in from Pakistan. This is a CNN News 18 mega exclusive brought to us by investigations editor Manoj Gupta. What we are being told amid the push for the peacekeeping forces in Gaza, Pakistan is strictly open to a peacekeeping mandate, and Pakistan Foreign Office says Pakistan will not participate in any mission tasked with peace enforcement or the forcible demilitarization of Palestinian groups. And if you were to read between the lines, one can actually make out that they are also referring to Hamas. Pakistan will not be part of any mission that imposes a specific government on the Gazan people. Israel's land registration and illegal escalation is what they have called it, and reaffirmed their support for a Palestinian state. Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif is currently in Washington, D.C. to attend the inaugural session of the Gaza Peace Board. Let's also listen into a reaction before we break it down for you with our guest.
Pakistan has been consistently highlighting Indian involvement in extra-territorial assassination campaigns, which is not only confirmed in Pakistan, but also spread across multiple countries, including the United States. Pakistan has also shared irrefutable evidence, concrete evidence of Indian sponsorship of terrorism and the terrorist groups operating in Pakistan from across our borders. The latest detailed, which are available in the media, vindicate our position and highlight the need for the international community to take serious.
All right, let's quickly go across to Major General Sivach, who's joining me on the broadcast. Sir, how do you view this statement coming in? First of all, not only are they accusing India of getting involved in extrajudicial killings on foreign soil, this kind of detachment or say a distanced presence as far as Gaza Board of Peace is concerned, is this not mere tokenism? Because they are not going to participate in the disarmament of Hamas, a terror entity like Hamas.
You know, very correctly said. You know, what are the international stabilization force meant for? They are meant for the militarization and disarming of Hamas. Now, if Pakistan is not getting involved in disarming, then who will get it done? This is the mandate of international stabilization force. So, actually, Pakistan has a double phase. One side, it is trying to very close to U.S. It has now become a member of Board of Peace. It wanted to get all the favors from U.S. in terms of getting loan from IMF and World Bank. At the same time, it wants to show to the Muslim world, especially to the Palestinian and Hamas, that Pakistan is with them, that they will not get involved in any peace enforcement. They are only meant for peacekeeping or the stabilization of a humanitarian corridor or maintaining supply chain. But who is going to do basically disarming of Hamas? So I suppose this, whatever stand is taken by Pakistan is faulty. It is not going to be accepted by the Board of Peace, especially the executive members. At the same time, the second issue which has been raised, where Pakistan is trying to point finger toward India, that the number of extrajudicial killing has been done. You know, this is totally false. One must understand what Pakistan does it all over the world. It is now trying to blame India. Right. Pakistan is a hub center of terrorism. The second point I want to tell you this is that in case any killing is taking place in Pakistan, it is in Pakistan itself. Why have they not able to nab?
All right, Major General Sivash, many thanks to you for joining in with your precious insights here on Nation at 5. With that, slipping into a quick break. Be right back.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The AI Impact Summit in New Delhi, Prime Minister Modi has outlined India's Manav vision for artificial intelligence while addressing global leaders. Also, French President Emmanuel Macron, who remember is on his 4th visit to India, among top tech CEOs as well, including Google's Sundar Pichai, attended the summit. The French President began his address with a namaste and even praise for India for having built what no other country could so far. He said that India has given digital identity to 1.4 billion people. On the other hand, Sundar Pichai has said that India can be a leader in addressing security risks at the global level as well. Reliance Industries chairperson Mr. Mukesh Ambani has also addressed the summit today, and he said that India will emerge as one of the greatest AI superpowers in the 21st century. He further said that artificial intelligence can usher in an era of superabundance and offers limitless gains in knowledge, efficiency and productivity.
एआई के लिए इंसान सिर्फ डेटा पॉइंट न बन जाए, इंसान सिर्फ रॉ मटेरियल तक सीमित न रह जाए, इसलिए एआई को डेमोक्रेटाइज करना होगा। हमें विजन भी बड़ा रखना है और जिम्मेदारी भी उतनी ही बड़ी निभानी है। वर्तमान पीढ़ी के साथ ही हमें इस बात की भी चिंता करनी है कि आने वाली पीढ़ियों के हाथों में हम एआई का क्या स्वरूप सौंप कर जाएंगे। मैं जिम्मेवारी के साथ कहता हूं, गर्व के साथ कहता हूं, हमें भय नहीं, भारत को एआई में भाग्य दिखता है, भारत को एआई में भविष्य दिखता है।
And it's great to be back after my 2024 state visit for this Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit hosted by you, Mr. Prime Minister. And I want to start with a story. 10 years ago, a street vendor in Mumbai could not open a bank account. No address, no papers, no access. And today, the same vendor accepts payments on his phone, instantly. And India built something that no other country in the world has built, a digital identity for 1.4 billion people.
Artificial intelligence is not just another technology. For the first time, humans are creating human-like systems autonomously. AI is the mantra that powers every yantra or every machine and system to work faster, better, and smarter. We are only at the dawn of this era. The best of AI is yet to come.
It's wonderful to be back in India. Every time I visit, I'm struck by the pace of change, and today is no different. Back when I was a student, I often took the Coromandel Express train from Chennai up to IIT Kharagpur. To get there, we passed through Visakhapatnam, Vizag. I remember it being a quiet and modest coastal city brimming with potential. Now in that same city, Google is establishing a full-stack AI hub, part of our $15 billion infrastructure investment in India.
All right, let's quickly go across to Siddhant, who will in fact share more details to all of those host of talking points that have now emerged from this big day today. Siddhant, to begin with Prime Minister's speech, which was extremely heartwarming, when he says, "Bharat ko AI mein bhagya dikhta hai, Bharat ko AI mein bhavishya dikhta hai." He's also spoken about how India is looking towards a responsible form of AI governance, as you rightly earlier highlighted, that it's not just going to be India positioned as a consumer, but one as also offering a market.
Well, that's right. And Akanksha, this vision of Prime Minister Modi is not only for India, but for whole of Global South. And this is the reason that the first time, Akanksha, that on this global high table of artificial intelligence, Global South is participating as equals, not as a market or as a consumer. Perhaps that was the whole idea of Prime Minister Modi to organize this event in India. At the same time, last year also, Akanksha, as we were discussing before, when Prime Minister went to Paris to co-host AI Action Summit with President Macron, at that time, there were a lot of concerns with the European leaders and countries in Europe and other parts of the world that AI will take away jobs. And perhaps it was Prime Minister Modi at that gathering who in his keynote address made India's position very clear and also convinced the other world leaders that don't hesitate to embrace this technology. It is important to accept it, to skill, reskill, perhaps to shape the future of this technology. And look, right after 1 year, India is hosting a summit. And today, Prime Minister Modi, in his keynote address, he spoke about AI governance, he spoke about participation, R&D in Global South. He in fact also spoke about AI vision, but at the same time responsibility, which also needs to be decided, is a part of this AI world. So Prime Minister's vision is very clear, and in fact this is the reason that today it's such a significant moment for India and also for the entire AI ecosystem, Akanksha. All the big industry players from the West, India, they all are under one roof at Bharat Mandapam, perhaps sharing their thoughts, their perspective on AI. And also, Prime Minister made it very clear that India particularly should not only be seen as going to be the consumer or the data center hub for the artificial intelligence. India will also be involved in developing the technology, models, research and development. And perhaps it has already been proven by India because
Welcome back. We're getting in some breaking inputs coming in from Britain. This is King Charles III has issued a statement after the arrest of his brother Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And I quote, "I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is a full, fair and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." A reiteration of his prior commitment as far as King Charles is concerned, but the first reaction after the arrest of his brother Andrew Windsor Mountbatten. In fact, let's also cut across to CNN and listen into the coverage
of the arrest. And also this, let me state clearly, the law must take its course. Now, this appears to be tied to the revelations coming out from the Epstein files and could be connected to the former Prince Andrew's time as British trade envoy. We're waiting and learning much more by the minute. Let us bring back in CNN's Salma Abdelaziz as well as British attorney and broadcaster Andrew Eborn to continue this discussion. Salma, you've also got a new statement in.
Yes, I do. And this one is, of course, from the most well-known accuser of Jeffrey Epstein, the late Virginia Giuffre, who published a book just 6 months after she died of suicide. Her book, rather, was published. And in it, she describes her interactions with the former Prince Andrew. Now, her family has issued a statement following the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor this morning. And I want to read that statement to you again from Virginia Giuffre's family. At last, today, our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty. On behalf of our sister, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, we extend our gratitude to the UK's Thames Valley Police for their investigation and arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Now, again, I do want to emphasize that this arrest is around his time as trade envoy, not around the allegations of sexual misconduct. But he did settle a civil case with Ms. Giuffre, reportedly for millions of dollars several years ago. So those allegations have absolutely swirled around Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor for many, many years. And so you're going to hear in the voices of victims like Virginia Giuffre's family a sense that there is a start here of justice, even if this arrest is not necessarily about the sexual misconduct allegations.
Salma, stick around. Andrew Eborn back with us again. And as Salma said, to our knowledge, this does not involve any of the allegations of sexual misconduct around Jeffrey Epstein or Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew's connection to that. It has to do with his time as a trade envoy. Kate was asking you before what the legal steps will be, and also just the unusual nature of this, because all of this happened years ago. Whatever happened years ago. But more came to light over the last month because the U.S. Congress forced the release of the so-called Epstein files. Were British officials not involved in any of these investigations? Were there investigations before? Is this all brand new information that they're going over as of, 2 weeks ago?
Well, the reality is this. There were millions of new documents released, as we know, in the Epstein files. Some of that is the evidence which will come up maybe in this case. But I go back to the general sort of warning, if you like, about avoiding the substantial risk of prejudice. Now that it is an active case, everybody is entitled to be assumed innocent until proven guilty. But the evidence will be gone through, and people will look at that sort of side, because it is an extremely serious offence. If found guilty, as I mentioned beforehand, the maximum penalty is life imprisonment.
And this is public misconduct. And I am sensitive to the British law here. It makes it difficult to discuss almost anything. But what was his role as a trade envoy, insofar as we know, Andrew?
Well, effectively, he was there on behalf of the country, making sure that we had appropriate dealings internationally. He was the public face of trade and business, and lots of photographs and meetings and so on and so forth would have taken place. He would have had access to a lot of information, and that's going to be the question in this, is to what extent, if any, did he release or share that information with other people, and in what circumstances? Because there are certain defences, and again, we don't want to prejudice any defence, which is why we have to sort of dance around, if you like, any suggestion of the strength of any evidence or otherwise. But that needs to be looked at. What evidence was it? If it was disclosed, in what circumstances?
Andrew Eborn, Salma Abdulaziz, obviously don't go far. So much more to discuss here as we get new information coming into us by the minute, and these new statements which seem to be pouring in by the minute. Other news this morning, a fire nearly twice the size of Chicago, scorching 2 states. At one point, burning the equivalent of 3 to 4 football fields.
United Kingdom. Now, in a statement, Thames Valley Police said as part of the investigation, we have today arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of misconduct in public office, and are carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and in Norfolk. The man remains in police custody at this time. Mountbatten Windsor has previously denied any wrongdoing over his ties to the disgraced financier. Let's get right to CNN Salma Abdulaziz, who is in London, tracking what is this fast-moving story today. And Salma, we've just got a new statement from Virginia Giuffre's family. What does it say?
Yes, we did just receive that statement from Virginia Giuffre, who's probably the most outspoken and well-known victim, of course, of Jeffrey Epstein. She died of suicide last year, just months before a book was published about her horrifying account of survival. She even speaks, of course, about former Prince Andrew in this book. This is a statement from her family in response to this arrest. At last, today, our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty. On behalf of our sister, Virginia Roberts-Giuffre, we extend our gratitude to the UK's Thames Valley Police for their investigation and arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Now, it's very important to note here, Becky, that the arrest of Mr. Mountbatten Windsor is around his time. The allegations, the accusations are around his time as a trade envoy for this country between 2001 to 2011, not necessarily around the sexual misconduct allegations that, of course, have been splattered all over the papers and all over the headlines for months now.